I want to talk about, just really quickly, what's going on and how much victory that we've had in the culture wars. It's incredible. So Sophie Cunningham is a WNBA player who's famous for the point. Do we have the point? Hey, Alex, we don't have the point. I'm going to literally stand here and wait for the point. We're going to stand here and wait. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the point. There it is. Oh, yeah. Hey-o. What up, Soph? So this has been memed 100 million times. Can we please grab like the greatest memes of all of this? It's free for all Friday, so let's do it. So Sophie Cunningham is famous for her pointing, also famous for protecting Caitlin Clark. It's a national hero, a former Iowa Hawkeye like me. And she just gave an interview to ESPN where she said the thing that we have all been waiting for a female athlete to say, are like for the last 10 years of a fever dream, where these poor female athletes have had to shut up and sit down because men are there to beat them up. That's what we've just lived through. So let men domestically abuse you and your daughters, your wives, your kids on the court, win Olympic gold medals, and you're not allowed to say anything about it. And that's what happened. And the women were like culled into silence. It's totally and completely beautiful. I love that. Totally and completely evil. And now Sophie Cunningham, who's at, by the way, the height of her fame right now, says, I got a lot of negative feedback when asked about the trans issue by ESPN. And I'm like, don't care. I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that love is truth and being honest. And I want to protect young girls in the locker room, young girls in a sport who shouldn't have to go against a biological man. Now, why is that important that Sophie Cunningham just said that? And she doubled down on it, actually, when asked about it in an interview here. The reason why it's important that she said that is because, one, it's the breaking of the fever dream that men and women are the same and that mentally ill men should be allowed to go out and beat up women or to change with them in a locker room. Obviously, that's just pure perversion. It's a crime. It's actually a crime, right? So not only is it a criminal offense, but also from a cultural perspective, not just a criminal perspective, from a cultural perspective, to have the most famous WNBA player saying this and being able to base it on truth. Notice how she says it here. Love is truth. So what is truth exactly? Truth is the first book of Genesis. God maketh you man and woman. That's what he says. God makes man and woman. He makes them distinct. He makes them with different roles. He makes them different, and that's, by the way, biological reality. Certainly, there are some very strong women, very fast women, but the reality is that men, on average, are much stronger, much faster, much taller, much bigger, have faster twitch muscles, have very different muscle growth capacities. Women have other, by the way, advantages biologically. Women have higher endurance levels. The way that oxygen, the way they can reoxygenate is faster than men. There are biological advantages, disadvantages, whatever you want to call them. We're just different. And that's just the reality. And we're different down to our very bones and down to our very cellular structure. Like, it doesn't matter what you put into you, but it doesn't matter how many times you're cast as Achilles, right? Like, when an archaeologist digs up your bones, they'll look at the chromosomes and say, XX or XY. You were a woman or a man. And you ain't going to be able to change that. And so that's like, it's so wonderful to see somebody with such fame say this. Here's Sophie Cunningham. I can't wait to talk with legendary Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl about this. Here she is.
That same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just, can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I'll always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports.
Peace. Peace. This is us winning the culture war. A man who's been winning and continues to win for 11 seasons as the Auburn Tigers men's basketball coach, now currently at America First Policy Institute, working on the American Dream, Faith, and Family. Bruce Pearl, ladies and gentlemen, joins us live now. What up, Coach?
What's up, Benny? How strong is Sophie? She's winning right there, man.
Incredibly strong. I can't wait to get your take on this. So the floor is yours, Coach. I mean, this is I think that's being very understated how powerful it is to have the single most popular female athlete and meme on the internet making this stance for common sense. A stance that, by the way, would have gotten you if she had said that a couple of years ago, you would have been deplatformed. And now it's mainstream, and libs have no answer to that.
Well, Benny, thanks to you and many others, this is what the silent majority looks like. Okay, this is how most Americans feel. We just don't talk about it as much as the other side does. Good for Sophie. What would you do to protect your wife? What would you do to protect your daughters? Like anything. And that's how every man in this country should feel about our young girls and their ability to participate in sports right now. Benny, back in the day when you grew up in Iowa, they were playing basketball differently than 5-on-5. It was still the old 3-on-3, and this group played on offense. That's all changed now. But women should be able to play in women's sports and be great and be champions and get treated the same way that the men are treated. But they got to be separate. Otherwise, it is not safe for our girls and our women to be able to compete. And so good for our country that we finally got in a place where we can have this discussion. I'm proud of our universities. I'm proud of Title IX as the basketball coach at Iowa at one time, and Tennessee and Auburn, different places like that. We recognized that we were filling up our stadiums and we were making some revenue. And a lot of that money went to fund the non-revenue sports, the Olympic sports, and yes, the women's sports. It was the right thing to do then. It's the right thing to do now. And good for Sophie Cunningham for standing up and saying what we all think.
Please, what is you've, of course, been around college sports for 3 decades, correct? And so you've seen athletes come and go. What does it say to have an athlete like Sophie Cunningham out here saying this?
Well, I think it gives others courage and hope to be able to continue to say that. Benny, when I was at Auburn, we said that we were sort of an everything school. To whom much is given, much is expected. I was always going to other sports, getting my teams to go to those other sports and supporting them. And I'm old enough to remember at a time when, where the women were not treated fairly, and their ability for opportunities for scholarship, their abilities to be able to compete, the money just wasn't there. And it's there now. And it takes great players like Caitlin Clark to be able to go into the WNBA and in 2 years become one of the best players, one of the best female players on the planet. And knowing that, where does she stand? It's all about her faith. It's all about her work ethic. It's all about her being grateful that this country gave her and other women the opportunity to be able to participate. So I think this is fantastic. I'm happy for my daughters and I'm happy for my grandchildren.
So, Sophie Cunningham is now becoming quite a rock star and a role model, actually.
Well, she is, and there's a bit of sadness to that. Sometimes you get thanked for simply just doing the right thing or being a good person or trying to things that God would have you do. You're not doing them for the thanks, you do them for God's glory, so on and so forth. But it is a shame, Benny, when simple conduct, simple statements like that, we actually need to take time and praise it because it's so rare nowadays.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just a final question about this. What is it like what would you say to Sophie Cunningham as a coach? Because some coaches would be like, stay away from that. Don't touch that issue. You're going to get bad headlines. Obviously, you're going to get a ton of hate. You get death threats, right? This very violent contingent of society.
Well, Benny, I think they say don't talk about religion and politics, okay? You know, the greatest way you could hurt somebody's feelings is to ignore them. So if we don't talk about God, if we don't worship God, if we don't pray, if we don't have conversations about how we believe about the Lord, we're ignoring him. And that hurts his feelings more than anything else because he wants to be in that relationship. We should be able to talk about politics. And we should be able to talk about it in such a way where there are some things that we can agree to disagree. But we need to be able to have these conversations. We need to be able to have them peacefully, and we need to be able to have them, civilly. And there's no other country in the world, well, there are a few others, but not many, where those freedoms exist.
So you'd be proud of Sophie if she was your player right now?
100%.